I want you to think about the last time you spent money that wasn't in your plan. Not a big purchase, not something irresponsible, just something that wasn't on your list. Maybe it's just a Tuesday night and you was exhausted and you just opened up your phone. And before you even knew it, you bought something. You was just adding things to your cart. Or maybe you walked past the store and then walked out with a bag. Or maybe you hit checkout on something online at midnight. You look at your account and you're like, damn, where I go? And the answer is 100 moments just like that one. Now here's the question I really want you to sit with. When you had that moment, when you were adding things to your cart on that Tuesday night, what were you actually feeling? Because I'm willing to bet it wasn't, I really need this. It was probably something more like, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm bored, I'm frustrated, or honestly, I just want to feel something good for about 5 minutes after a long day. That is not a discipline problem. That is a behavior pattern. And there is a significant difference between those two. Welcome back, I'm Jay. This is Wealthy on Purpose. And today we're going somewhere where I think most money content is too polished to go to. When most people talk about overspending, they characterize it as a flaw. Like she has no self-control. She's bad with money. She's irresponsible. And that framing is wrong and actually harmful, because when you believe that you are the problem, you try to fix it with willpower. And willpower is not a financial strategy. It is a resource that runs out, especially when you're tired and when you're stressed and when you're overwhelmed. So what happens is you will white knuckle your way through a budget for a couple of weeks. And then when hard times come and that willpower that you had is just gone. And then you spend something. And now you're just dealing with the original spending pattern. And you're dealing with guilt on top of that. And guilt makes the spending episodes more likely to occur, not less. Because guilt and shame make us want to escape. And a lot of us use spending to do that. So let me offer you a completely different frame. Most overspending is not a decision, it's a response. Your brain has learned through the years and years of experience that spending produces dopamine hit with you're uncomfortable, and it gives you a sense of control when things feel chaotic, and it gives you something to look forward to when you're bored, and it feels like a reward when you're grinding. And your brain is very good and suggests coping mechanisms that have worked before. And even when those coping mechanisms are costing you thousands of dollars a year. 63% of Americans say that emotions influence their purchases. And 74% of those emotional spenders say it has led to them overspending. Nearly 2/3. And 74% of those people say it's actively cost them. That is not a small group of people, sis, that can't control themselves. That is most people operating on autopilot, responding to feelings, and spending because nobody never gave them a tool. The goal of this video is to give you that tool. We first need to understand what's actually triggering the response. Because when you name that one trigger, you have a chance to interrupt it. And that's when real change starts. There are 5 emotional triggers that drive vast majority of unplanned spending. And I want you to listen for that 1, that 2, or those 3 things that sound like you, because your pattern is specific to you. And understanding your specific pattern is the way you use that in a generic budgeting tip. Trigger 1 is stress. And this is probably the most common one, especially for women who are holding a lot: career, relationships, family, health, and all at once. So here's what spending looks like in real life. You have a terrible meeting, or a bad conversation, or a day where nothing goes right. And on the way home, or even during your lunch break, or at 10 p.m. when everything is finally quiet, you open up your phone, you buy something. or you order something, or you book something. And for a moment, a genuine moment, you feel better. You made a decision, something is coming. You did something for yourself in a day when you felt like it was working against you. Your brain files that as stress spending equals relief. It suggests that equation every single time when you're in that stress state. Not because you're weak, because you're human. And your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Find patterns that reduce discomfort and repeat them. Number 2 is boredom. And this is underrated. I think a lot of people don't identify as emotional spenders because they associate it with big dramatic purchase after dramatic feelings. But boredom spending is quiet. It happens when we're sitting on the couch with nothing urgent to do. And you're on your phone, and in your hand you see something on a website. Typically it comes from an ad from scrolling social media. And you're like, oh, this is cute. Let me buy that. Let me add it to the cart. It's on sale. And then bam, you done bought some. More than 1 to 3 Americans admit that they shop online because they were bored. 1 in 3. And that's just the people that admit it. Okay, so it's probably 2 out of 3. Your brain is wired to seek stimulation. When it's nothing getting stimulated from what you're doing, it will go find it. And shopping, especially shopping, is perfectly engineered to provide that stimulation. The scroll of it all, the discovery, that anticipation of something arriving is generally a dopamine loop. And if you ever found yourself on a site that you didn't intend to visit, buying something you didn't intend to buy, that loop is why. Trigger 3 is comparison. And I want to be careful here because this goes deep than just social media bad. Comparison spending doesn't always start with seeing something on social media. Sometimes it starts from being in a room with people that have more than you, or get an invitation to something that feels like you need to look a certain way, or just a quiet internal sense that you're behind. The other people your age, at your income level, seem to have more to show for it. And that feeling creates a spending impulse that is really about identity, not about the thing that you're buying. Because when you buy that thing, you're not just buying the thing. You are buying the version of yourself that feels behind. And that purchase may feel really good for that day or two. And then the feeling comes back. And you need another purchase to address that feeling. It's a loop that no amount of spending can actually close, because the thing you're actually buying isn't available for purchase. It's a feeling of enoughness, and that has to come from inside. Trigger number 4 is celebration, and the sneakiest one because it feels the most legitimate. You hit a goal, you finished a hard project, you got through a brutal week, you landed a new client. You deserve to celebrate. And I agree, you absolutely do. Celebration is healthy. Acknowledging wins is very important. But here's what I want you to notice. If every single win automatically becomes a spending event, celebration has quietly become a financial habit. And it might be costing you more than you even realize. Think about it. Every raise becomes a shopping trip. Every closed deal becomes a nice dinner out. Every completed goal becomes a treat. Every hard week survived becomes a purchase. Individually, none of these are a problem. But if this is a consistent pattern, if wins and spending are always linked for you, then your earning is always tied to money. And the gap between what you make and what you keep never actually widens. Number 5, I think that this hits the deepest, okay? And the one that gets talked about the least. It's avoidance. Sometimes we spend specifically to avoid looking at our money. because looking feels too hard or too scary or too shameful. You know there are things that your financial picture that you're avoiding dealing with. Like, let's be serious. Debt you haven't opened the statement for, a savings account that hasn't grown in months, a budget you set up and quietly abandon it. And every time you think about sitting down and actually looking at the full picture, something says not today. And instead of facing it, you do something else. You buy something, you scroll, you consume. Because staying busy spending is something more comfortable than sitting in discomfort to actually look at your numbers. The cruel irony of avoiding spending is that it makes the one thing you're avoiding even worse, because now you have less money to spend to deal with that problem that you are avoiding. And then now you're going to add guilt on top of that, which makes you avoid it even more. Am I making sense? It's a cycle that will keep going until you deal with it. Take a look, not because it feels good, because looking will help stop the cycle. 43% of emotional spenders have gone into debt because of it. And 69% have regrets acting on their emotions when spending. Almost half, okay? Almost half of people who are emotionally spending have gone into debt as a result of it. And a majority regret it. And most of them are still even doing it. Because they haven't had someone to actually explain to them what is actually driving it and give them a way to interrupt their pattern. That's what's going on right now, okay? I'm going to give you one thing to practice this week. I'd rather give you one thing that actually changes something that 5 things you do for 3 days and abandon. It's called a 10-second pause. And it's actually what it sounds like, okay? For the next 7 days, every single time you feel the urge to spend something that wasn't in your plan, stop. For 10 seconds, put your phone down. Don't close the laptop. Don't do something dramatic. Just stop, okay? Stop. And ask yourself this one question. What am I actually feeling right now? Not should I buy this? Not can I afford this? Not is this in my budget? Just what am I feeling? Because you can name the feeling. You already interrupted the automatic response. You're gone from autopilot to aware. And awareness is what changes the behavior over time. Not willpower, not restriction, awareness. You might still buy that one thing. It's okay. You're not trying to become a robot. You're trying to make the decision consciously, not reactively. And over time, as you practice this more and more, you start noticing the pattern. Always have the urge to spend when you're stressed or bored or even been on social media for too long. And once you can see the pattern clearly, you have options. You can address the actual feeling instead of responding to the purchase. Before I wrapped up, one distinction that I think is really important. I never want this channel to feel like I'm telling you to stop enjoying your money, because I'm not. That is not the message. That is the total opposite. There is a meaningful difference between treating yourself and numbing yourself. And learning to tell those things apart changes everything. Treating yourself looks like I planned for it, or you made a fully conscious decision in the moment. You generally wanted that thing, okay? And you're going to enjoy it. And when it's over, you're going to feel good about having done it. That is healthy. That is full life. I want you to have that. I do. Numbing yourself looks totally different. It happens fast. Sometimes before you even finish the thought. It's about not wanting to feel the thing that you're currently feeling. And here's the test. How do you feel about it an hour later? A day later? If you feel worse, if there's guilt or regret or a kind of emptiness, That was numbing, not treating. One builds your quality of life. The other quietly costs you the ability to build it. And the goal of everything we're doing on this channel is to help you spend on purpose in ways that actually serve the life you're trying to build, not just because you're trying to escape. Wealthy on purpose means both things: building wealth intentionally and spending intentionally. That's the standard we're working toward. If you want to go deeper in understanding your certain spending patterns, because your triggers are going to be different from everyone else's, and what works for you is going to depend on knowing which ones are more active for you. If this video is giving you something real, go ahead and subscribe, sis. Every video is going to be an honest and practical one for you. Next week, we're going to talk about why your budget keeps failing you. And not because you're bad with it, it's because you don't have an actual solution that works for you. That one is going to reframe a lot for you. So don't miss it. And if you know someone that needs this, go ahead and share it. She needs a different conversation. And this is it. I'll see you next week.